yeah, to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of doing or what your level set is. And that's why, even though I could tell you were frazzled and freaked out, I wasn't going to give you a whole bunch of, I was like, you
You
got it.
didn't. You were so
Nah,
nice.
so you got it. You got this.
What? Did we just become best friends?
Yeah! One is a t-shirt queen, and the other is an SEO and web developing ninja. And both of these squirrels are a little nuts. You're now listening to the More Gooder Ideas podcast, a show for the small business hustlers worldwide, encouraging you to be your most authentic self. This is the place where your whole story matters. Come for the tips and stay for the fun. Now, your hosts, Angie Patterson and Jay Smith.
I'm tired.
I can tell it's been a while since you've had a 2-event weekend.
Oof. I'm old.
And honestly, I went to one of them.
Yes, thank you for that. That meant a lot to
me.
And
I heard from you on the other one. So these 2 events, I'm guessing, probably the busiest weekend you've had.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a 2-day event.
Right.
It was one event on Saturday and then one event on Sunday.
And these were Galentine
yes.
shopping. They were vendor events, but like one of them was at a brewery. Actually, they were both at breweries.
Yeah.
Different. So, I mean, the first one I went to on Saturday was way out in the sticks at a warehouse. It is. I mean, it's an industrial park.
I mean, it depends on what your definition is of the sticks, but yeah.
In Southern Indiana.
It's an Ba-bumps.
Hey! No, it was funny. We were driving up there and I told Susan, I was like, because I spent 25 years working with truck drivers and logistics and all that. And it's like, I used to drive up to this park to visit Fire King all the time. There's no brewery back here. So I thought I might have picked the wrong one. Like this is maybe where they did their distribution.
Yeah.
And they had like an event space somewhere else. But no, sure enough, Our Lady of Perpetual Hops is smack in the middle of an actual industrial park.
Yes. Which is kind of nice,
Yeah.
depending on how long you want to be at a place, because there is ambiance. It doesn't feel like you're like in the bustling city or whatever, but...
The one way in and out is a little bit much, but
there's a tree line, which always makes it kind of spooky sometimes.
So, without divulging numbers, was it by any certain percentage more successful than a typical 2-day weekend of business?
Saturday, I made my money's worth, for sure. Sunday was a record-breaking 1-day show for us.
Wow.
As far as profit goes.
That's awesome.
So it was very exciting.
That is cool. Did you get that sense that was the same result for the other vendors there? Like the event itself? Like everybody had that big of a day? Or do you even know?
I mean, I don't really know. I'll speculate because I love to speculate. I would say we were one of the better vendors Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Just because the both of the lovely ladies who put these shows on were pretty curated as far as how many of each thing they had.
I noticed that. I noticed that there was not any duplication at Our Lady of Perpetual Hops.
Yes.
And I already knew with the wow factor that I didn't go to, I already knew that's how Amanda was going to run it because she's a pro.
Yeah.
And I've seen her other events. So, but yeah, Our Lady of Perpetual Hops, I noticed every booth I went to, I did not see anything replicated, I don't believe.
Yeah, and Lindsay is also a small business owner, so she also had a booth on Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to her for a minute.
So I think she understands that, like, you can't have too many options, and it's not a huge space.
I saw that, and it, on looking at it, it seemed like that. Like you definitely had a limited amount of space. But given how crowded the whole event space was and the way people were already navigating around each other in the tables, I think it didn't seem to slow anyone down from going all the way into the back anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it was just the environment you were in.
I don't think it affected my sales
No,
negatively
so.
necessarily.
Yeah. I didn't see anybody, as we've discussed before, sometimes, at Flea Off or whatever, I'll see people just go right on by a booth just because the way it's laid out, they can't get in or they, it's just not, there's too many or whatever. And I didn't see anybody. I just think the whole space itself was very, very bustling. So I think that's just the way it was. And I don't think anybody was bothered by that.
For sure. And I was so concerned about Sunday. I probably could have made it work better with what I had I been like thinking in the now of, oh, okay, well, these people are going to stand in my space. Let me move this around a little bit. But I was you can attest to it because I saw you and almost like broke down in tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank God you're here. Tell me everything's going to be okay. Mainly because I was intimidated by the woman-owned wallet Galentines. I was intimidated.
So Saturday you were already stressed out worrying about Sunday.
Yes.
Okay.
I had done a show with Lindsay before, the lovely lady who put on Saturday's event. I had an event there before.
Okay.
So I think there was that kind of comfortability. There was people I was going to know there, whatever. Sure. But I was having a little bit of imposter syndrome about Women-Owned Wallet because I knew that she had other options that she could have chose for my specific niche, and she chose me, and she was very, vocal about how much she wanted me to succeed.
Well, she's a pro.
Right, and that should have been like a confidence booster.
Well,
but it really made me kind of have that imposter syndrome of like, but what if they're thinking like a little bit too highly of me and I'm not really prepared for this kind of event?
Right, but turns out you were.
I got him. I was ready.
Good. Well, and that's funny you bring that up. So imposter syndrome is well known in the tech community and cybersecurity. So I've known about that for a long time. For anybody who's not familiar with the term, it's just, you don't feel like you're good enough to be in the space that you're in. That's saying it vaguely, but I think you explained it pretty well. I heard a very interesting thing about that recently. I cannot remember who said it, but it was great. And it was imposter syndrome is actually a very good thing because it lets you know that you are pushing your own boundaries, and that's the only way you grow.
Yeah,
that's people wonder why this guy's already got $50 million in the bank. Why is he continuing to try to buy a new company or try to push forward or whatever? And that's what it is. It's the only way you grow is to continue to push your limits. And imposter syndrome lets your brain know, or your brain is letting you know, hey, we're uncomfortable here. That's good, because if you're completely comfortable, that just means you're coasting and you're not going to grow. You're resting on your laurels. So ever since, and when you hear it, you're like, oh, duh. But ever since I heard that, I was like, man, that's perfect. And I had never heard anybody put it like that.
That is good.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like, yeah, to grow, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to push yourself beyond what you think you're capable of doing or what your level set is. And that's why, even though I could tell you were frazzled and freaked out, I wasn't going to give you a whole bunch of, I was like, you got it.
You didn't. You were so nice.
Yeah, so you got it. You got this. Like, I know enough about Amanda to know she's a pro, and she wouldn't have picked you if she didn't know that you were capable of rocking it, and you did.
I did.
There you go.
After Sunday, and it's all said and done, and I'm like, I did great. Everything was fine. Everybody's happy. I thought back to several times when I think people were trying to kind of make the same points to me, and I shut them down. And in my mind, it was like, oh, it's because, that doesn't matter, or that's not right. The example I thought of was Cassidy when she came to help me do a show. There were several times where she was kind of talking about my setup, and she has these really great ideas for like some different things I can do. And I was like, well, I want to do more online commerce. So like, I'd really rather invest my time and my money in that. That's not really going to help me, And on Sunday, like, we had a really nice booth set up. I thought about it for a long time. I really refined it and everything, and it made a huge difference. Cassidy was right. If you're listening, Cassidy. But I think it was my fear, like you said, of like doing something different and it not being successful that kind of made me just shut down ideas like that from other people who do care about me, like you said, and want me to be successful and see my potential.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled for you, because that's the bad thing is if you do try new things and it doesn't work, you don't know if that didn't work or if it was a bad event or this or that or this or that. But now that you've tried something new and it did work, then you can continue doing that at another event, and then you'll know, with consistency, like this continues to work. Okay, this is the path. Now, of course, you'll have to modify it for each event based on the flavor. No other event's going to be like the Women on Wallet event. I'd say,
that's what I would say.
With ticket costs and with, being at a brewery and there being food and a special photo booth by Caitlin, It's different than
Right.
Flea Off Market or something like that. That's more just kind of a street fair. I don't know where the hell I was going with all that.
Well,
I just like hearing myself talk.
I do too. That's what I was like.
We all like hearing me talk.
We just I actually listened to us on the way over here, so I'm like, let me get my juices flowing. Shout out to Amanda Dare. I mean,
Really?
she just was so thoughtful. And not just, obviously for the consumers, because everybody was having a great time.
Yeah.
But, her business model is putting money in the wallets of women.
Yeah.
So she really, not just curated the people that were there, but where they were in the space.
Oh, so she laid it out. It wasn't just I signed up first or I paid the most, so I get here.
Yes.
She actually set the map and all that.
Yes,
Oh,
and
cool.
this is why, you're here, and this is why the person next to you is there, and this is my, idea of how they're going to flow through the whole space and how they're going to flow from, booth to booth. And that makes a difference for the consumer.
Sure.
Because they're going to get that flow, like we talked about last episode. Customers are savvy. So they were following her flow and they were seeing the connections, and that was making them spend more money than maybe they would have initially. So
Cool.
she really, it wasn't just that it was this beautiful party, because it was beautiful.
And just for clarification, Amanda or Woman on Wallet is not sponsoring this podcast.
Please sponsor us, Amanda.
No, I want to make it clear that we're not doing some kind of, some podcast that like a couple minutes in, you're like, oh, this is a commercial. They're just extolling the virtues of something, and then finally there's an actual commercial, and you're like, oh, that's why they've been kissing their ass for 15 minutes.
You can buy tickets at woman.org. No, I really felt that way, and that kind of stuff goes a long way with me, and I think it goes a long way with the customers too. And there were a couple moments on Sunday that really had emotional significance for me also. And so even if I hadn't have had a record-breaking day, if I just would have had a great day money-wise, I would always want to go and do other events for them because of those emotional experiences too.
So this sounds like actually both of those events, but the way you're talking, even more so, when we talk about just vendor events where, some of them, Susan and I have gone to, it's just like, did anybody even structure this, or did people just show up and throw up a card table and fucking, here's my stuff.
Yeah.
But it sounds like they've moved on the other end of the spectrum from where those are just a commodity. Anybody owns a piece of property and has nice weather and has a Saturday blocked out, they can just say we're having a vendor event. Whereas these are, every piece of it is curated and intentional, and not only for the vendors, but also for the customers. Yeah. And more so because the Sunday event for Women on Wallet was a ticketed event. So you'd actually pay to even go there and shop.
Yes.
So yeah, of course, like she has to keep the shoppers front of mind in addition to the vendors, whereas Flea Off, it's a free event. Yeah. And they rely on donations to pay for the staff and the setup and the cleanup, and make sure, a lot of people don't realize that when they go to Flea Off in Louisville. It's a big, that's a big space, and there's a lot of cleanup and a lot of stuff involved. And it's easy to walk right by the sign that just says, hey, our people are basically funded off of these tips, and put a couple dollars in the box because they don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, if you're going to the Flea Off, make sure you bring a couple
tip
dollars.
them.
Yeah,
because they also take very good care of the vendors.
Yes, they do. Cool. So any other big takeaways? Or I do remember, and I don't know if you want to get into this. So the amount of things, your menu of items was different.
Yes. So Amanda, let me take it back. Rewind. At middle to end of last year, me and my husband had started talking about vendor events are a great way to market test. You can see what is really hitting and what's not hitting. Mm-hmm. But I have a handful of things that for a year I cannot keep in stock at vendor events. And he was like, you have to make more. You're going to sell them. Why are you not making more? Why are you adding all this other stuff to see if they like it? It seems really obvious, but when you're in the thick of it and you're making money, well, we weren't being unsuccessful at vendor events. So I'm like, okay, so we took a couple designs and kind of started doing that. And then Amanda was really specific. She was like, they're coming in, they're ready to swipe their card, and and keep it moving to swipe their card again. So like make it really easy for them to shop.
Sure.
So I took a handful of newer designs that I knew would be really popular and that like really fit the event, but didn't necessarily like stray away from my voice. And then 2 or 3 that we just, like I said, we sell every place that we go. Bulked those up, and it worked really well.
So how many? All right. If you even know, what percentage of your usual, say you have 40 designs out normally, and at Women on Wallet you have, so do you know what?
I couldn't tell you the specific number.
You don't know? Is it half?
At least, yeah.
Oh yeah, you think it was even less?
Yeah.
Yeah, niching down.
Yes. Because I want to push that product, right? I don't necessarily want to make a bunch more of it when I know like it's hard to sell, or maybe I'm just tired of banking it. I'm not into it anymore. Sometimes I push that stuff so much that then people want to keep getting it, and then I'm holding on to these same 2 T-shirts that I'm carrying everywhere, and these 2 random sizes. Does that make sense? Is that what you were asking?
Kinda. It was more kind of leading down the path towards, for me in more of a B2B context, of course it's niching down and it's speaking directly to one problem for one customer. And the closer you can get to that, the more successful you're going to be.
Yes.
But we all start out servicing everybody and making everything.
Yes.
And I fall back into it easily because it's technology, and somebody will say, hey, can you do this? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Or I can go figure it out. And I get excited, and then I'm halfway into it and I'm like, what am I doing? This is not what I do.
I think the biggest thing is knowing the space to do that.
Yeah.
So just like with my website, I'm not going to put every single design I've ever downloaded onto a T-shirt and put it on my website. I think it's the same thing with the shows. There are events like the Florida Flea, where you're having thousands and thousands of people. So if there's anybody in the world that's going to buy that product, they're going to be there, right? Sure. Put that out there. And you need all the products you can get, right? And then there's events like Woman Owned Wallet, where it is more of like a curated shopping experience. So you're not going to offload all your stuff from last season at an event like that. And I think that was kind of the takeaway for me is knowing my audience. Like,
Remind me of this off camera.
Okay.
Because I just had
an idea for me.
When you said curated, I
love when you have ideas for me.
I know. I have an
just
idea.
like, and the same thing can go to e-commerce too. Like if I do a Facebook Live, typically I am trying to move product that either I can't, like I said, I can't move, or I don't want to make it anymore. I don't feel like it fills my niche if I'm niching down. I'm not going to show every single new design that I plan on putting on my website, right? Sure. Because it's going to sell itself. So I think just really honing in on when's the appropriate time. I can still use the events as market testing of something that I think is really cool, but is it going to sell? But if I'm really looking to like make money, I need to say in the 7 shirts that I can display that this is my voice, this is Sandy Pants Customs, and I can guarantee I have your size down here if it's the first half of the day.
Okay.
Take it home now, right? Because that's the issue with, or at least that I have with e-commerce, is people love my stuff.
Right.
Okay, like let's be real. I'm doing a great job, but there is something about that instant gratification of I see it, I have it in my hand, swipe my card, and I take it home. It's mine.
Susan buys all kinds of crap when we go to those events, but she's not going to go home and shop online and buy it.
Right.
Because you're in the moment. You hold it. She got that really cool hat. She got the tinsel in her hair from that lady.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done that.
It was neat. That place was killing it.
I mean,
and their overhead is nothing.
Yeah. I was on cloud 9 about buying that damn hat. I've been wearing that hat.
Oh, you got one?
All over the place. Yes. And I just felt so cool. And I had actually seen her online. So
because we're chatting about it. So it's a booth with some sort of badge press that presses patches onto hats, and you pick out all the patches you want on your hat.
And they had such good patches.
Oh, they did. Yeah. And Susan got a really cute black one that had, Nope and a black heart, and she had
Let me pull up their Instagram so we can shout them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it was cool. And I told her, and I told the tinsel lady, I was like, there's nothing like this at Flea Off Market. You should be there too. Mm-hmm. Like, And of course, if we go this spring, there'll probably be 4 people doing it. Just,
Magpie Avenue.
Yeah.
Shout out to Magpie Avenue. They are online at magpieavenue.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a storefront in Corydon, Indiana. So definitely check them out. It was a really unique service. And would I have bought that online? I would have liked it. I would have put it in my favorites tab, but I don't know if I would have pulled the trigger unless I could put it on right then and been like, "Ooh, I look cool." This is my thing now.
Yeah. You are thinking in order for you to grow to the level you need to grow, that your focus should be on your online sales. Mm-hmm. But it almost feels like the event from Sunday may have given you a new lens.
It's like you're psychic, Jay.
I listen.
What a man. You see this man? He's taken, but you see how he listens? He hears me. I was thinking that on the ride over as I was listening to us. Like I said, the last couple episodes were sort of leading up to this. We're financially relying on the vendor events because it's a lot of money up front. We're not packaging stuff. We're not delivering it, whatever. So it is definitely funding the business. And if the business is going to grow financially, that's really where it's going to start or what we can do right now.
Sure.
My biggest thing with growing my e-commerce business is my time. And maybe I just need to work out and get better sleep. But I was Monday. I mean, I was just completely wiped out. And, I'm not that old, but I'm old enough that I don't want to spend my whole weekend packing and unpacking. I want to be with my family and my friends. And so that's kind of where the idea of really growing the e-commerce business comes.
Okay.
But I'm just so good with people.
You are. No, you're absolutely right. And you were talking about, the impulse purchase in the moment at these events is huge. We come home with all kinds of stuff that I can't picture us shopping for online because you can touch it, you can feel it.
And I think that's part of my success.
So you've gone 5 miles down the road and I'm still across the street waving at you. Have you changed, or has this given you a new lens? Are you thinking that you want to somehow figure out how to make in-person vendor events? Because I think a significant portion of your success is how engaging you are in your booth. We talked about that in episode 1, why we even ended up engaging.
I can't take all the credit for that.
But in any event, the vast majority of booths are somebody sitting in a folding chair and kind of acknowledging you, or here's my crap or whatever. And I think if you were like that, you would be just like them, and it would be an expensive hobby.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the challenge of not having any of your weekends. You have young children. You have only so much energy. Financially, it has to actually help you survive. So, maybe there's some validity to looking at which events are, now you've got a broad cross section of the type of events you've done. You've done everything from there's 5 card tables sitting here. The only thing I don't think you've done is a home party, which I think we've talked about.
No.
And I think that's something that's ready. That's ready. If somebody were to do some really upscale home parties, like the old Tupperware shit, like the woman who makes the hats and stuff like that, and you do it in a nice big home, I think you would kill.
That sounds kind of fun.
I think people still do it.
And they could try it on, and I could help them style an outfit around
exactly.
it.
And then
That
there's a
sounds really
jewelry
fun.
booth, and there's a makeup, all that stuff.
And Caitlin's there, and she takes cute pictures of them.
100%. If you
We
got
have a whole
somebody
new business we're
got
about to
somebody
start.
got somebody in a big house, I'm telling you, and you theme it like and you can even theme it like an old school Tupperware party where everybody dresses, like they're in the 70s. You'd kill.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. But
Cut that out so nobody steals our idea.
I think it's going on, but I don't think it's hit the mainstream.
Well,
And-
it's so funny because I don't feel like I'm upscale. And again, it's like that imposter syndrome of but am I high end? Am I curated? But when I did it, I was successful, and I didn't compromise my voice.
Right.
I didn't compromise my product or my personality.
No, you were in that situation too, that environment. So people come into that environment expecting to spend that kind of money, and they're at a fancier event, and they're going to get boudoir-ish photography taken, not full on Caitlin, but they're going to get sassy pictures taken with their new t-shirts and their hats and stuff. So it's very interesting.
Yeah. And to answer your question, I would say yes, my vision has shifted slightly. I mean, I've already signed up for a lot of shows this spring and summer. So it will definitely take the forefront whether I want it to or not because of time purposes. Like I'm going to have to spend a lot of time getting ready for these events.
The way I was kind of leading there was e-com in your space, you're competing with all of Pinterest and Etsy.
And one of the things that we kind of talked about in the last couple episodes, if you don't care that I kind of circle it around, was talking about like automation, working on some automation for my business. I had a hiccup come up with that on Sunday. So I wanted to say you're right and we're on the right track and the service you want to offer is right on point.
What do you mean?
I have this really cool design that I purchased off of a really amazing artist off Etsy, and I have the license to, print it and sell it. And it's a cowgirl riding the corn dog. And there is a brown hair, a blonde hair, and a red hair lady riding on the corn dog. And I had a lady who wanted that shirt. She was obsessed with it. But she wanted a more brown cowgirl. And could I do that, And I couldn't tell her yes because I didn't create that design.
You tell her yes. No, I'm serious.
I found a way to, but you know what I'm saying? I wish that at that moment, I thought of you and I thought if I had created this design,
right,
I could customize it 1,000 ways and I wouldn't have to think so hard to find her a solution. I found her a solution, but
it's another idea.
But it wouldn't be so hard. You have another idea? Don't say it on camera. I don't want anybody to steal our
I won't.
ideas.
It's stupid. I'm not in that space though. Ideas are easy. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley and all of business is littered with great ideas. Everyone has great ideas. It's execution where people fall apart.
Right.
And I'm not about to start a t-shirt business. Not even a little bit.
I'm going to drag you in.
No, you are not.
You dragged me into this podcast. But no, I was just, and then when I listened back, I was thinking it definitely was a little bit of a motivator for me to do that. And just, again, another confirmation that kind of we're on the right track. And if I need it, like somebody else needs that kind of service from you. So
I think there are plenty of opportunities to leverage automations in what you do to really elevate the experience. At an event, say we're at Our Lady of Perpetual Hops, and we purchase things from, I think, 4 different booths in general, or in total, including the brewery would make 5. But I didn't get any sort of automated outreach after swiping my card at anybody. And and you can do that without asking for, you'd want an email address or something like that. But most payment processors will send an automatic text or email. You can hook into that and also send. Hey,
all their information is hooked to the card.
Right. Thank you so much. Here's our web shop. We hope to see you at this event, this event, this event, this event, and this event. So now when they are some weekend, they're like, oh, let's go to Flea Off Market. Like, oh, she's there. Top of mind. And you would be the only vendor at these events doing that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff larger brands do. You know, Fabletics and stores like that, they rely on those constant touch points. And I think we can incorporate that into your business.
I think that we're both on the right tracks. I think that I, at least, should be more confident.
Oh, yeah.
With that emotional kind of connection and experiences really go above and beyond. And I'm not producing vendor events. So, but I could take those lessons and put them into my business about how I'm emotionally connecting with my customers and my fellow entrepreneurs to grow my business in a way that is really meaningful. Sure. And I know that's your whole goal for the year is turning your business into nothing but meaningful work and interactions. Yeah. So I would love to talk to Amanda about that because I did have the opportunity to talk to her quite a bit about, her vision, and her what's the, like her mission statement sort of as a person and as an entrepreneur. But I would love to talk to her about how she because she's a smart lady. She knows she's doing it. It's not like she's doing it unintentionally, but how she creates those kind of emotional moments and connections with people. I don't know that we'll have one of these every week because we talk about a ton of businesses, and you know me, I patronize very few businesses because I never leave my house. But I wanted to give a shout out to a small business that made a really emotional impact on me this weekend. Obviously, shout out to Lindsay with Nomadic Jean and Amanda from Woman Owned Wallet who put both the events on. But I have followed for a while Fly Girl Candles.
Okay.
And I just love them. And I've seen them at a lot of events. I haven't had a chance to purchase a candle. And so towards the end of the day on Sunday, I told Ryan, I said, I want to buy a candle from her. But you go pick the scent because we have different preferences on what kind of scents we like. And I'll smell every single one, you know. And he came back and he was almost in tears. And he said, I told her what I liked and she suggested a candle and it smells like my dad smelled.
Oh.
And my husband's dad passed away when he was young.
Oh, wow.
And just that little, not only just like the artistry in her craft.
Sure.
Obviously, because the candles are the bomb. But just that, like, listening to him and being able to, like, make a suggestion. And she didn't know that it smelled like Bob Patterson. That wasn't the scent, you know. But she had such an emotional impact on my husband with that little bit of thoughtfulness in creating
We talk
her
about
item.
it all the time, see?
And I just was so, I'm like, I would have bought anything. It could have smelled like cat shit. And we would have bought it because I just love her and I want to support her business. But I don't know if she ever like thought about that when she was, mixing.
See, now we got to get her on the podcast.
Oh, I have a whole list now of people I'm going to try and recruit into our cult.
The book podcast, Deborah, that we ran into.
Yeah,
she was super cool.
she was really cool. And I want to be on a book podcast because I feel like that's cool. I want to be a book girly.
Like a coloring book for me, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, shut up. You love to read.
Sticker book.
But shout out to Fly Girl Candles.
Yeah.
And if you have a chance to check them out at an event or online, please do so. I know she's on Instagram. She's great at content creation, so I'm jealous of her for that too.
Cool.
But she made, if by chance she's listening or I can get my ass in gear and post some reels on Instagram, hopefully this will get to her about how meaningful that was for us. And I mean, again, I will buy anything that she sells now. So,
Duh.
she got me. She got me
Right.
good.
And that's what we keep talking about.
Yeah.
Emotional connection.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
hopefully we can start a little thing maybe every episode where we can give a shout out like we ask our on-site guests to do of just
They just haven't been very good at it.
it's like
Miranda was good at it. but
my
anyway.
business is the business I want to share.
Right. Let me tell you about a Louisville business. Mine. Fuck everybody else.
Help me. So that was really fun.
Cool. Do you want to give us some kind of a wrap up? And so awkward silence isn't really the way we.
This is the end of this podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Jay.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out this episode of the More Gooder Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at More Gooder Ideas and search us up on Facebook, the More Gooder Ideas Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode.